If there is one issue that truly unites the Northeast, it is the issue of land, the rights of indigenous communities, and the never-ending conflict between those who are indigenous and those who are not. From Kokrajhar in Assam to Anini in Arunachal, there is no stretch of land where this debate is not taking place. When Manipur started burning, one of the first decoded videos we created was an attempt to explain why not just Manipur but all of Northeast India faced a similar problem. Now we are seeing this materialize in Assam, and one of Assam's largest tribes, the Karbis, is at the center of the conflict. My name is Kalyan Dev, and in this episode of Decoded, we will attempt to make sense of what happened in Karbi Anglong and why this could be the case in every other region of the Northeast as well. Pursuing for months.
The village of Assam
In the 75th Independence Day,
The issue at the heart of the conflict in Karbi Anglong and West Karbi Anglong districts of Assam is of course rooted in decades and even century-old claims over land in a constitutionally protected tribal region. As some of you may know, Karbi Anglong is governed under the 6th schedule of the constitution, a framework designed to preserve tribal autonomy over land, governance and cultural rights. The schedule ensures that indigenous communities have exclusive rights over land use, political representation and commercial activity in their territories. But if there is one thing that is common across all of the Northeast, it is the laws are strongest only on paper. Because if the 6th schedule did its job, we would not be in the current quagmire. Decades of migration and settlement by non-tribal populations, especially Hindi speakers from states such as Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, alongside Bengali-speaking communities and Nepalis, have of course altered the demographic composition of some localities, stoking fear among the Karbi tribals population that their political and cultural space is being eroded. Add to this the constant movement of populations during the height of insurgency, and you have a region where laws remain on paper and settlements, tribal or non-tribal, remain outside the purview of the law. You see, the areas where non-tribal populations settle for generations often fall near grazing reserves, the village grazing reserves or VGRs, and professional grazing reserves or PGRs. Now remember again, these reserves are meant to be maintained for the tribal communities' pastoral use and are protected under 6th schedule provision. The presence of non-tribal residents has become a focal point of Karbi discontent, with tribal bodies arguing that sustained encroachment threatens not only land rights but also future political influence and demographic dominance. The current controversy surrounding the eviction drive in the Kheroni Professional Grazing Reserve area of West Karbi Anglong unfolded through a complex intersection of colonial-era land records, political mobilization, administrative action and judicial intervention. At the center of the dispute is an eviction order issued by the Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council or KAAC, its subsequent suspension by the Guwahati High Court and the Council's inability to substantiate the legal status and precise boundaries of the land in question. On February 20, 2024, the Principal Secretary in charge, Revenue Department of KAAC, issued an order directing the Assistant Revenue Officer or ARO of the Donka Revenue Circle to take necessary steps for the eviction of unauthorized occupants from land identified as a professional grazing reserve or village grazing reserve. This order affected residents of several villages under the Kheroni area in West Karbi Anglong district. The order was challenged before the Guwahati High Court through a writ petition filed under Article 226 of the Constitution of India, registered as WPC /3524/2024. The petitioners claim to have been in continuous occupation of the land for over 60 years and contended that the eviction order was arbitrary, illegal and issued without due process. The petitioners placed evidence before the court, including entries in the Chitta or land records and proof of payment to Tozi Bahira Revenue. to establish their long-standing presence on the land. They further submitted that the proposed eviction area comprised 2008 households with an estimated population of 11,664 people, 5 polling stations and several government institutions and public facilities. Taking note of these submissions, the High Court issued notice to the respondents returnable on August 5, 2024 and directed that extra copies of the writ petition be served upon the State and Departmental Council. As an interim measure, the court suspended the eviction order dated February 20, 2024, but only to respect the 22 petitioners before the court. The petitioners were also directed to serve a certified copy of the order upon the Principal Secretary of KAAC to bring it formally to the authorities' notice. The eviction order sparked additional legal challenge. Some petitioners argued that they were not occupying PGR or VGR land at all, but rather the government khas land. In these cases, the High Court directed the petitioners to submit individual representations before the Assistant Revenue Officer of Donka Revenue Circle and restrained the authorities from taking coercive action against them. Crucially, the court directed the respondent authorities to place on record the Gazette notification declaring the land as PGR or VGR. The matter was fixed for December 20, 2024 for the filing of an affidavit to produce the Gazette notification dated July 8, 1933 by which the land was allegedly notified as Hawaipur PGR. However, KAAC later admitted that the Gazette notification of 1933 could not be traced within its Revenue Department records. Due to the non-availability of the notification, the Council was unable to furnish the document before the High Court as directed. This failure significantly weakened the administrative case for eviction, as precise identification of PGR boundaries is a legal prerequisite for any eviction process. According to a white paper issued by the KAAC Revenue Department in October 2024, the Kheroni PGR was earlier known as Hawaipur PGR and was notified during the British colonial period through notification number 221R dated July 8, 1933. Reference to this notification were found in later boundary notifications of the then Mikir Hills district issued on April 13, 1951. The area was originally under the Kampur circle of the Nagaon district before the creation of the Donka Revenue Circle in 1956. The total recorded area of Hawaipur PGR is stated to be 11,607 bighas, 0 kathas and 19 lesas, as reflected in Chita records of the Donka Revenue Circle. Villages falling within the PGR include Kheronighat 1, Kheronighat 2, Dikreng, Rajadubi, Bakasdubi 1, Bakasdubi 2, Dokhin Kheroni, Ranaima, 9 lakh and Jampathar. Field verification cited in the white paper claims that approximately 2,584.1 bighas, about 22.26% of the total PGR area, are encroached by human settlement, while the remaining encroached land measuring 9,023.09 bighas is used for cultivation and left fallow after harvest. The eviction issue escalated into a political flashpoint following a memorandum submitted by the Rachnatmak Nonia Sanyukta Sangh or RNSS, a caste-based organization, to President Draupadi Murmu during her visit to Shillong between January 15 and 17, 2024. The memorandum demanded settlement and issuance of pattas to non-tribal encroachers occupying the Hawaipur PGR land. This demand triggered widespread protests across Karbi Anglong as allotment of PGR land to non-tribals is prohibited under 6 scheduled provisions. On February 15, 2024, the Karbi Students Association or KSA and ASDC Youth Front organized a dharna outside the office of the Assistant Revenue Officer at Kheroni Chariali and Jenka to protest illegal encroachments. Later that evening, between 5:30 p.m. and 6 p.m., KSA members were attacked at Phelangpi by individuals allegedly belonging to the Nonia community. Several students sustained serious injuries, with one treated at Kheroni Model Hospital and 4 referred to Diffu Medical College and Hospital. An FIR was lodged on February 16, 2024 at Kheroni Police Station by Moniram Teron, Vice President of the KSA. The complaint alleged that 40 to 50 masked assailants attacked KSA members using bamboo sticks, bricks and stones, attempted to kill them and vandalized their vehicle. Despite asserting the illegality of encroachments, KAC has acknowledged its inability to precisely demarcate the boundaries of the Hawaipur PGR due to the absence of the original Gazette notification. While settlement records identify encroached land, the lack of formal notification undermines the legal foundation of the eviction process. In its white paper, KAC has appealed to any individual, organization or institution, government or private, that may possess a copy of the 1933 Gazette notification to come forward and assist in resolving the matter. As the case stands, eviction remains stayed for the petitioners, multiple writ petitions are pending, and the fundamental question of land classification remains unresolved, highlighting the consequences of administrative gaps, historical record loss, and delayed institutional response in a sensitive sixth schedule. The immediate cause of the violence was a protest movement that escalated sharply earlier this month. Karbi protesters, supported by local organizations such as the Karbi Students Association, organized a hunger strike near Kheroni Daily Market to demand the eviction of alleged unauthorized non-tribal settlers from the grazing reserves. Several tribal residents had been staging this indefinite protest for more than 2 weeks, demanding that authorities act to enforce tribal land rights and evict those they viewed as encroachers from the protected reserves. Tensions came to a head on December 22, 2025 when police removed some of the hunger strikers from the protest site in the early hours, ostensibly for medical examination due to their deteriorating health. Tribal residents viewed this move as forceful and unjust, and news of the action spread rapidly, triggering angry reactions. As outrage spread, tribal residents gathered near the Kheroni police station and clashed with law enforcement, later turning their anger towards non-tribal properties and residents. Homes and shops owned by non-tribals in the Kheroni market were looted and set on fire, and the ancestral residence of the KAC chief executive member Tuliram Ronghang was also torched during the unrest. Amid the chaos, police and security forces stood by as some of the burning took place, feeding perceptions among non-tribal residents that the administration lacked the will to protect them. Karbis argued that non-tribal populations have grown significantly in some constituencies, leading to situations where tribal communities no longer form the majority. This demographic shift, real or perceived, has heightened anxieties about tribal marginalization and the dilution of protections guaranteed under the sixth schedule. Occasions where non-tribal leaders have won local council seats are cited by tribal activists as symbolic of this shift, reinforcing a belief that demographic and political power is slipping away from indigenous groups. Also note that in this case at least, the encroachers are not a community everyone likes to hate on. The petitioners in this case, for example, are Bihari migrants, not Bengalis. See, if they were Bengali-speaking migrants and Muslims, the Assam government would have wasted no time in calling them intruders, infiltrators, Bangladeshis, and would have done everything possible to kick them out. But these are Biharis and Hindus, so naturally the BJP knows that they are vulnerable vote bank. For the BJP, encroachments are a threat only until they can blame it on Bengalis and especially Bengali Muslims. But in this case, the ruling parties must be careful, and this is why we always say that issues like removing encroachments, deportation and reclaiming indigenous life are always easier said than done. In the Northeast, the naked truth is that Bengali Hindus and Muslims are far from the only outsiders living in protected areas. For locals like the Karbi, the ethnicity, caste and religion do not matter. Yet, for the government, it clearly does. The ruling parties have focused on the religious angle when talking about outsiders and encroachers, but as the Karbi violence shows, it is a lot more complicated. And the failure to address the issue with the sincerity it deserves will only ensure that Karbi Anglong never stops simmering.
forget to like, share, and subscribe to EastMojo. For any queries, put them down in the comments section below and press on the bell icon for notifications.